we've done the rolling, we've done the stretching. The muscles are a little bit sleepy. We want to wake them up a little. Simplest way ever, I reckon, is just a bodyweight squat. But a bit of a variation is a little narrow because we're not chasing max depth.
Yeah.
So we can go a little narrow, make it a little more run specific. So about hip width, and then it's just squat and just literally do 15, 20 of them just till you feel whatever, like wherever you start to feel, I'm now feeling a little warm and activated.
Yeah.
So depth-wise?
Not much. Like you don't need, like we just want to wake everything up. We don't need to, I don't want to, thing is running's hard enough without fatiguing the muscles. So just enough to get the quads going a little, get things moving, get the ankles moving. Doesn't have to be a huge amount. And then I like to wake up the calves a little as well.
Yep.
A bit of a sprinter's body angle, so just a bit of an angle up on one, and just really loading the weight through the big toe joint.
Yep.
And don't do this to fatigue.
I just told myself to stop. I was like, this is like
You're not catching a pump
10.
next.
But it just sort of just makes sense. If you're gonna make your body transition from sitting around to running, you should at least, and the calves are gonna be the thing that 9 times out of 10 holds you up.
Yeah.
Just wake them up a little. We're now up to the actual technique part of it. I reckon the most important thing is when you're thinking running technique, is you want to try and find ways to make it easier. And people often think, oh, well, I'll just run really slow. That's going to make it easier. Yeah. But you're actually spending a lot more time on the ground.
Yeah.
And so all that time on the ground, that's like every time you strike the ground, that's working time. So you actually want to get a higher cadence and less time on the ground, more tapping into the natural elasticity in your body. If you're running a little higher cadence, you get about 30% refund on every step in terms of energy. So it's just easier. A bad thing for most runners is if you're going to run with a heel strike where you're going to roll through because you're wasting a lot of energy. So ideally, if you can, you want to try and get a bit of a midfoot strike. But if you're striking the ground up here, it's got a long way to go before you get that power spot.
Yeah.
What you actually want to strike it a little sprung. So not soggy, but a little sprung. So soggy's that, sprung's that.
Is that the same for sprinting, endurance?
Yeah,
across the board in
like
terms of the strike?
for sprinting, the emphasis is on a real, like if I'm wanting to sprint, it's a real, like I've really got that foot up high, that real spring, so I can really hit it and get that pop. But even slower running, like you still ideally want a midfoot strike and just kind of bounce into the next step because you're getting that energy. If someone's a successful heel striker, like they've been running with a heel strike, I'm not going to change, and they're just a recreational runner, like changing that would be crazy because that could invite some dramas. But if you've got a kind of a fresh, clean slate, I'd say probably try and learn to run high cadence on a midfoot strike. And so most people will run at a cadence of around 160 beats, which is relatively slow. If you can get up to more like 180, and you're just cycling that cadence. And there's apps you can have that actually will tell you
I've got it on
the cadence.
We'll have a look at mine after and do a review.
So
I have a feeling mine's really slow.
And it's a natural instinct to kind of like muscle your way through the run. Whereas you just want that light, because time you're spending in the air, that's almost no energy cost. Like that's the easy part. It's the time on the ground that's the killer.
Taxing.
So you can even start, if you want to try and develop that quality, just a little bit of pogos. Just that quick contact off the ground. And as you get more advanced with it, you can try getting a little bit of dorsiflexion, so getting your toes up a little, so it's more of a sprung.
That'd be so complicated for me.
That's good. Now you're quite quick.
Oh.
That's nice.
Let me go.
Now you should feel reasonably primed, warm enough, ready to go.
Ready to take on anything.
Okay. Let's do a little bit of running and see what you look like. Yeah?
I'll follow you, mate.
You got this.
Really?
That's pretty good.
This is vintage footage.
My work here is done.
And that is how you do it.
Perfect.
Midfoot contact feels really nice.
Yeah.
I've never done it before.
Yeah, right. And like dial it up slow because it's a bit of a shock for the Achilles, for the calf.
Yeah.
So Jace, your feet are kind of like that on it.
Yeah.
What you want to try and do is it's almost like you could just slide a credit card under your heel.
Okay.
So it's actually not right up here. A lot of people will try and get higher knee lift, better arm action, but it's a bit like running is just the action of falling forwards. You lean on a Segway and it's a bit like that. Like if you just lean into it a little more everything else will kind of take care of itself, because you'll have to pick the foot up, but don't focus on the extension part. Focus on triple flexion, on actually getting the foot off the ground. So it's higher cadence, light contact time. So you've got a bit of body angle and you're just thinking, don't stay on the ground too much.
So we'll lean forward a little bit.
Lean forward a little. That's better.
On the way back, I kind of just leant forward and kind of just neutralized my spine.
Yeah, because you don't need to be
up. And it felt really, really easy from about halfway to here.
Yeah, great. The next thing would be just get the cadence up a tiny bit, which feels a bit weird at the start. Part of that is if you've got big lats and your big units, it's hard to get your arm action fast.
This is gonna be funny.
If you're up here like this, you're missing out because the arm, that little bit of arm action does help with the running. If you're down here, it's also too much. So it's just kind of around there. Try not to make a fist. Try to keep relaxed. Try thinking less about what's going on forwards and more about what's going back. So just try and.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel more relaxed. I don't know if I look at it.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
And the aim is if you can not rotate too much.
Okay.
Because if you're rotating,
you're
making
moving the wrong way.
You're making your core have to do a lot of work. And so you go.
All right. Oof, watch me go.
Look at this. Yeah, that looks way better because that's a sustainable pattern.
See the foot strikes right underneath it.
Yeah.
Now too.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Back on the soccer pitch
I
next
felt
week,
so loose then.
Yeah.
Just so.
Yeah, effortless.
Didn't really feel very costing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
On that, watching Jace and how it felt for me, are you suggesting shorter strides?
Yeah, a little shorter strides. Really focus on not letting the foot get out in front of you too much.
Yeah, okay.
Really getting it under. And it's all part of that thing of falling. If you've got body angle and you've got forward cadence, you're going to create a fair bit of pace naturally. And you'll stop pushing, because the killer is when you're really pushing when you're running, and that's just too much work.
Yeah.
When you hit the ground, that natural elasticity, that's going to help spring that knee back up into a nice spot. So you're not having to kind of drag it up with your hip flexor. Yeah. It's kind of being bounced up by your calf, and then it's just in the right spot, and you just go and go and go. Go again, focus on that cadence, that body angle, and just stay super relaxed. That's it. Yeah, that looks great.
Main thing is your calves look massive, bro.
Massive.
Hardest part's stopping.
Yeah, and Ben, yours technique's a little different. Yeah, you're right to want a little more lift there.
Yep.
Because you're spending a bit of energy getting the foot lift is happening, but that foot lift doesn't take you anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you can just get a fraction more lift,
yep.
I think that will be helpful as well. And then I suppose the big thing to think about is how you dose it. So that's.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah. So that's where people do hilarious things. Like, if you were to come into the gym and say, "All right, I'm going to do 10,000 reps of bench on Monday night."
Yeah.
You'd be like, you're an idiot. Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And yet people will go on a 5K. I'm going to start with a 5K run. It's like, how many minutes is that taking you?
Yeah.
How many steps per minute? Okay, that's actually 22,000 reps you're planning on doing on Monday night. So it's start way smaller.
Yeah. Especially if the precision's not there as well. It's like imagine doing 22,000 bad reps.
22,000 bad reps on an Achilles that maybe hasn't dealt with much
Yeah.
cumulative stress in the last 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like really dialed down. So it's like, I'm going to run for 30 seconds. I'm going to walk for 90 seconds. I'm going to run for 30. Like, it's that kind of really controlling it, and then just gradually dial it up. Because also what you want to do is you want to pick your target pace. Everyone's got a target pace that's in the sweet spot where it's you're getting good sort of energy, like you're getting good output for the energy you're spending.
Yeah.
So if I try and run at 630 kilometre an hour pace, which is slow for me, slow for most, but that is harder work for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's easier for me to if I run at 5:15 pace, that's easier than 6:30.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
I feel like running like that feels so much easier.
Yeah.
But to do the 5K and finish, I've got to go run at 7s.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard, But I feel like I didn't have the conditioning to do this for an extended period of time.
Yeah, so what you want to do is it's just like in the gym, like you want to make the same squat shape when you're just learning.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing, like it's the same running shape. Yeah. So I would say, do something, find that pace, and because that was probably what you were running then, was probably 5:15 pace or quicker.
Yeah.
So it's just get doses of the right pace and then string them together.
Yeah.
Because turning the dial up from 7, because what you'd ideally like to do is something under 6, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd like to do like a sub 35.
Yeah.
Sub 30 minute 5K.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's really hard to dial that speed up because the technique you're using for 6 or 7 minute pace is so different to that sub 5 type pace.
Yeah.
Shorter efforts and just dose it really carefully.
Yeah.
So that'll be number one is run with the shape run at the shape and pace that's your goal shape and pace, and then just string more of that together.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, oh, I did it without stopping, like that's the point of pride, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's not going to get you there.
Yeah.
Whereas being comfortable with that, I stopped and started 70 times.
Yeah.
That's fine.
The tech was good the whole time.
The technique was good the whole time, just strings together.
Yeah.
Next thing would be the gap between doses.
Yep.
48 to 72 hours between doses.
Yep.
So Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, or Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, or something like that, to allow the body to actually recover. Because your cardiovascular system, it can go again in about 12 hours.
Yep.
That's why swimmers can train double a day, because there's no gravity.
Yeah.
They can just go after it.
Yeah.
But your tendons are going to take about, peak collagen supercompensation takes about 72 hours.
Yeah.
So your tendons, if they got to vote,
Yeah.
they'd be like, I'll go every 72, please.
Yeah.
Are you better off with increasing the dose? Like, do you increase the magnitude or the duration? Like, do you do more of those 30-second runs first?
Yeah.
Or do you do longer 30-second runs in less than an hour?
I think it depends.
Yeah.
On what suits you and what you want to do.
Yeah,
but I
good.
just think you just want to, however you find you can accumulate better ability to maintain that pace.
Yeah.
So it's let's just say you ended up doing 10 efforts of 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So you probably, rather than adding on, for a lot of people, you're probably better off going, all right, I'm holding that pace beautifully, I'm feeling great. Let's push that out to 10 efforts of 33 seconds.
Yeah.
And then 35, and then,
Yeah.
and before you know it, you've got more, and then you can start shortening up your rest, and your rest comes, and so you end up, because if you end up eventually working your way down to a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio, 30 on, 30 off, or 35 on, 35 off, and then you start to just shrink that further and further, and then voila, 6 months later you're running at a good pace, continuous. And you might still do one run a week continuous, just so you can feel the improvements you're making. Yeah. The best elite athletes, they spend 20% of their time really working hard, and then 80% just pretty easy in terms of running, just racking up the Ks. And regular people get into that, that's a great way to train, but they're probably not ready for that intense 20. And so they'll get Achilles problems, they'll get calf problems, they'll get hamstring problems. So it's more like dial it down, be a little more moderate. Just don't be camped out. You know that sort of 6 out of 10 intensity? That's just the worst place to be. Like you want to be somewhere a little easier or a little harder, not in just that absolute. The absolute middle ground is where you're working just hard enough to feel tired and shit, but you're not actually making yourself much fitter.
I have one other question just because we're here about these.
Oh yeah.
Like them, don't like them, pros, cons.
A regular treadmill is a really stupid way of running, because what's happening is you're on the treadmill and you've got a motor running, and you're not really running, you're just getting your feet out of the way while it runs under you. So you're not using your glutes properly, you're not using your calves properly, and people think, oh, I'm running 5K, and then you take them on the road and they're like, oh, it's a different 5K. You know? The thing I love about curved treadmills is that because you're providing the energy yourself, it's still real running.
Do you find, in terms of from an impact standpoint, volume accumulation's easier on one of these? For me, I'm 49, so your results may vary. I find this really hard. I find this harder than running in the real world, because I think I'm quite technically sharp. So I can make it as though I'm fitter out there. But there's no hiding on this. But what's nice about this is it doesn't let you run wrong, in the sense that you can't heel strike on it, and it rewards you for a midfoot strike. So if I'm
building my pace up, like it's very rewarding of good effortless technique.
Yeah.
Because if I try and overstride, I'm going to feel it.
Yeah.
If I try and push, I'm going to feel it as well. So you've just got to get into that real groove of that relatively quiet, effortless sort of shape.
Yeah, interesting.
Because what do you weigh?
96.
Yeah, it's a bunch of kilos to carry.
So
You're making that look,
feels pretty good.
Making that look and sound light.
Yeah.
One of the big things is to try to run without earphones.
Yeah.
So you
Actually
can
hear your
use
foot
the
strike.
feedbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a few bad ones then, and I just tried to do something to correct it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of self-correct.
Yeah.
That was
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
thank
really
you,
good.
mate. That was really
Yeah,
good.
That's great fun.
Wicked.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. You guys were really
Didn't
good.
fall apart.